In the shadows of history's darkest chapter, there lurked a figure whose name became a whispered curse among the innocent. Amon Göth, a man once cloaked in the guise of authority, but whose actions would brand him as one of humanity's most sinister villains. Imagine a man entrusted with power, casually picking off prisoners from the balcony of his villa like game. Amon Göth, a man who oversaw the construction of the Krakow Plaszow concentration camp, a fortress where unspeakable horrors unfolded daily. Within these walls, Göth's cruelty knew no bounds. He would torture inmates over the slightest infractions. As chaos reigned within the camp, Göth reveled in corruption, embezzling funds while throwing lavish parties and orgies, indifferent to the suffering festering beneath his estate. His heinous crimes forever immortalized in the 1993 film Schindler's List. Join us as we journey into the heart of darkness. This is the story of Amon Göth. Early radicalization, the birth of a brutal commandant. The 12th of March, 1938. German troops crossed the border with Austria, greeted not by armed resistance, but by cheers and flowers. Amidst the jubilation, terrified Jews, leftists, and other opponents of the Nazi regime scrambled to escape the tightening grip of Nazism. Among those who greeted Adolf Hitler was a man whose name would become synonymous with unspeakable cruelty. Amon Leopold Goeth, born on December 11, 1908, in Vienna, Austria-Hungary, was the son of Amon Franz, a prosperous publisher. Raised mostly by his aunt due to his parents' frequent absence, Goeth showed little interest in academics. Instead, he found himself drawn to the radical ideology of National Socialism, joining the German Nazi Party in 1930 at the age of 21. As tensions escalated, Goeth's involvement in illegal activities, including obtaining explosives for the Nazi Party, made him a wanted man in Austria. Fleeing to Germany, he continued to support the Nazi cause, smuggling weapons and acting as a courier for the SS. Despite being arrested in Austria in 1933, Goeth evaded conviction and returned to his parents' business, maintaining contact with the underground Nazi movement. Following the failed coup attempt in Austria in 1934, Goeth fled to Germany once again, where he attempted to rebuild his life. His personal struggles, including the death of his mother and the failure of his first marriage, were overshadowed by the rise of Adolf Hitler and the annexation of Austria into the German Reich in 1938. Returning to Vienna after the German annexation, or Anschluss, Goeth resumed his party activities and married Anna Geiger. The marriage produced 3 children, with their first son, Peter, dying from diphtheria at just 7 months old. Amon Goeth's commitment to the Nazi cause was further solidified when he was granted full party membership on May 31, 1931, earning him the prestigious title of an old fighter. This designation distinguished him as one who had joined the party before Adolf Hitler's rise to power, a badge of honor among Nazi loyalists. Goeth's early allegiance earned him not only status within the party but also opportunities for advancement in the Third Reich. As the Nazi regime tightened its grip on Europe, Goeth's unwavering devotion to Hitler's vision propelled him into positions of authority, setting the stage for the unfathomable horrors that would unfold under his command. Into the abyss, Amon Goeth's role in the Holocaust. As the Second World War erupted on September 1, 1939, with Nazi Germany's invasion of Poland, Amon Goeth's trajectory intertwined with the darkest chapters of human history. Joining the SS the following year, he swiftly ascended to the rank of SS Hauptsturmführer. In the summer of 1942, as the Nazis commenced their ruthless deportation of Jews from ghettos in the general government to newly established extermination camps, Goeth found himself at the heart of this operation. Stationed at SES headquarters in Lublin under the command of Odilo Globoknik, Goeth played a pivotal role in Operation Reinhard, overseeing the transport of countless victims to their deaths in the ghastly confines of death camps like Bełżec, Sobibor, and Treblinka. But it was Goeth's next assignment that would etch his name into the annals of infamy. Tasked with overseeing the construction of the Krakow Plaszow concentration camp, he assumed the role of commandant with chilling gusto. In his inaugural address to the prisoners, he declared, "I am your God." Plaszow camp, initially established as a forced labor camp for around 20,000 Jews, soon became a cesspool of suffering. Arbitrary executions, harassment, humiliation, and torture became the norm. After morning roll call, the prisoners were herded to their assigned jobs. Escape attempts were punishable by death, while food smuggling was punishable by 100 lashes. Successful escape attempts were punished with the execution of every 10th prisoner in the escapees group, with Goeth typically performing the executions himself. After murdering a prisoner, Goeth would request their index card so that any relatives in the camp could also be killed. This was his way of avoiding discontented prisoners within the camp. His two dogs, Rolf and Ralph, were intentionally starved and trained to tear prisoners to death. One morning during roll call, Goeth shot a man for being too tall. Then, as the man lay dying, Goeth urinated on him. Goeth killed indiscriminately almost daily. A glance from an inmate was enough to trigger him, which is why the prisoners preferred to look at the ground when he was present. Once he caught a boy who was sick with diarrhea and was unable to restrain himself. Goeth forced the boy to clean up the excrement by eating it, and when the boy was finished, Goeth shot him. On one occasion, after catching a woman stealing food scraps, Goeth ordered her to be thrown into a large cauldron of boiling water. Amon Göth was soon given the nickname Butcher of Plaszow by the prisoners, and he killed at least 500 people with his own hands. A former Plaszow prisoner, Helen Jonas Rosenzweig, later testified, "When we saw him from a distance, everybody was hiding, in latrines wherever they could hide. I can't tell you how people feared him." Housed in a lavish villa, Goeth flaunted his wealth amidst the suffering of his victims. Driving around the camp in cars and riding on horseback, a cruel mockery of his authority. His entourage of servants catered to his every whim, from domestic workers to maids, chauffeurs to masseurs. Negligence in maintaining his fleet of cars was met with draconian punishment, a stark reminder of his absolute control. Within the confines of the camp, even the kitchen staff were not spared from Goeth's wrath. He viciously beat them for the slightest infractions, whether the food was lacking or the seasoning was amiss. In one chilling incident, he shot a Jewish cook dead for serving him soup that was deemed too hot. Goeth's shoemaker faced similar threats, with the wrong materials or ill-fitting shoes risking severe punishment. Reports suggest that up to 6 pairs of shoes were crafted for Goeth each week, a testament to his obsession with personal luxury amidst the horrors he inflicted. Yet perhaps most disturbing was Goeth's perverse sexuality, which he shamelessly indulged in despite the laws forbidding sexual relations between Jews and Germans. He raped Jewish women with impunity, disregarding the consequences as he sank deeper into depravity. The Butcher's Trial, confronting atrocity. Amon Göth was hated not only by the inmates under his command, but also of his SS subordinates, whom he treated with brutal severity, often reporting them to SS and police court for minor infractions. However, Goeth's downfall became inevitable when it was uncovered that he had exploited the vast Nazi apparatus to amass immense wealth for himself. All possessions stolen from murdered Jews were considered the property of the Reich, yet Goeth shamelessly pilfered valuables of every kind: diamonds, foreign currency, artwork, carpets and furnishings. Investigations revealed that he had stolen assets worth millions of Reichsmarks. On September 13, 1944, Goeth's reign of terror came to an end as he was relieved of his position and arrested by Gestapo officials in his Plaszow villa. He faced charges from the SS for theft of Jewish property, failure to provide adequate food to prisoners, violations of concentration camp regulations, and allowing unauthorized access to camp records. The administration of the Plaszow camp was transferred to SS Obersturmführer Arnold Büscher, and the camp was ultimately closed on January 15, 1945. Goeth's scheduled appearance before SS Judge Georg Konrad Morgan never materialized, as the charges were dropped due to Germany's impending defeat. Subsequently diagnosed with a mental illness by SS doctors, he was apprehended by US soldiers disguised in Wehrmacht uniform and transferred to a temporary prison camp on the grounds of the former Dachau concentration camp before being extradited to Poland to face justice. Goeth stood trial for his crimes before the Supreme National Tribunal of Poland in Krakow between August 27th and September 5th, 1946. He faced accusations of being responsible for the deaths of thousands in various camps, the deportation of countless others, and the misappropriation of significant Jewish assets. Throughout the proceedings, Goeth vehemently denied all allegations, attempting to undermine the credibility of witnesses and justifying his actions as merely following orders. He showed disdain for the court by nonchalantly polishing his fingernails during the trial. On September 5, 1946, he was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to death by hanging. At 37 years old, Amon Göth met his end on September 13, 1946, at Montelupich prison in Krakow, near the site of the Plaszow camp. His last words were a chilling "Heil Hitler." Following his execution, his body was cremated and his ashes scattered into the Vistula River,